Hey everyone, welcome back to the YOUnify podcast. My name is Brandyn Keating. I'm the co-founder and CEO of YOUnify, a nonprofit organization helping you flourish and thrive. And I'm also the host of our podcast. I'm super delighted to be here today with Jamie McGonnigal. Jamie is a public school parent, a PTA president, nonprofit leader, and community advocate running for the Prince George's County Board of Education, District 3. He has also spent years organizing progressive campaigns and conferences such as Roots Camp, which grew into one of the largest progressive organizing gatherings in the U.S. Jamie, welcome. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks. It is lovely to be here and lovely to see you again.
Awesome. So, Jamie, you have worked in everything from theater production to political organizing to nonprofit leadership. How do those experiences influence the way you approach leadership today?
That's a great question. I've had a pretty winding path. You left out Pokemon voice actor in there. So
even I didn't know that one.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's all over the place. It's been an interesting path. It's been an exciting path. When I was a kid, my mom would buy paper plates, and we had, the gold shag carpeting in our house, and it was the first floor was all one circle. So I would throw the paper plates in front of me, and I'd jump to the next one, pretending the floor is lava, like one does.
As one does.
And I've seen my career as kind of similar in that I just keep throwing the paper plates and jumping to the next one and see how it works. And the thing that's kind of, as an older person, I now look back and say, all right, what has linked this work that I've done? And I've been thinking a lot about it lately, especially with the school board race. And it's two things. It's the first piece is storytelling. Obviously in a theater background, as well as advocacy and getting people to work with you. It's about learning how to tell your story effectively and teaching others how to tell their stories effectively to change hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And I think that's been pretty vital to the core of what I've been doing my whole life. And secondly, it's about building things together. So in theater, you need a set designer, you need lighting, you need sound, you need a director, and then you need the people on the stage. And then most importantly, you need the people in the audience to receive that art. And without building those things together, it doesn't happen. Theater doesn't happen in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with leadership, with advocacy. You need people whose hearts and minds you need to change, and you need people to build things with you. So really, it's about community at the end of the day. I think that's kind of been core to everything I've been doing.
Amazing. So quite a windy road, or a series of hops from plate to plate that you've had, with some pretty amazing leadership experiences. I'm curious about young Jamie and what he was like, and sort of how you became you.
That's a super good question. I was on the outside in a lot of ways. I was a poor kid growing up in a pretty wealthy community. Mm-hmm. My mom raised 3 boys by herself. Wow. And I don't know how she did it now that I'm the parent of just one boy. Mm-hmm. But she was frequently unemployed, usually because she had parenting responsibilities that didn't allow her to keep full-time jobs. And when she did have jobs, she had 2 or 3 part-time jobs to stack up to make. We couldn't depend on housing. There was uncertainty there. We couldn't depend on food. So we did depend on a lot of government programs. We depended on the kindness of neighbors. But we also found a lot of strength in ourselves. I went to the food pantries with my mom. I remember as a kid, because we lived in a wealthy town, there were status symbols, right? All the kids had a watch. All the kids had Izod shirts. And I remember going to the Salvation Army with my mom, and she would buy adult Izod polos, and she would rip the little alligator off them, and then she would sew them onto my Sears polos. Wow. And she wasn't great with a needle and thread, so everyone knew.
Yeah.
But certainly now, even later in life, I've grown to appreciate that more. How much she really wanted me to belong
Yeah.
and not feel othered. So with all that, I think a lot of that made me a stronger person. Uh, it's also played with my own psyche here and there, right?
Yeah.
Around the pandemic, I certainly learned that hoarding's not good. You're trying to control the world that you can control when everything else feels out of control.
Right.
And I've carried a lot of that with me as an adult, and had my therapy to to figure that out too.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm not too bad, not as bad as my mom was, but yeah, there's that instability piece. Really, it plays with you in ways that you didn't even realize.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, subconscious ways. And there's that lifelong unearthing of that. What presence of mind though for you to figure that out and be working with it. And I imagine that helps you connect really well with others, because you're certainly not alone in those feelings of instability. I think everybody, I don't think there's anybody who can't relate in today's present day to the feeling of instability. I'm
Yeah.
curious about how those experiences in your young life shaped your belief in the importance of public institutions like schools.
Well, I saw our schools were pretty strong where I was. Again, it was a wealthy community for the most
Hmm.
part. But at the same time, I did remember in Massachusetts when I think I was in seventh grade, there
Yeah.
was a seventh grade music teacher who I had been inspired by music teachers already. My fifth grade music teacher is the one who got me into theater. She saw that I was kind of a lonely kid. I didn't like sports. I wasn't hanging out with all the other boys, which in the '80s that was a thing.
Right.
And and so my fifth grade music teacher had said, "Hey, there's this community theater production of Evita that's happening, and I think you should audition for it." And my mom was fully supportive and took me to the audition and the rehearsals, and that changed my path in
Wow.
so many ways. It gave me something that I loved, something that I could own of my own, that I really identified with and loved, and I was surrounded by great people. Um, and then growing up, realizing that community sense of things, and that the schools were certainly vital to what was going on with me, but also I stuck out like a sore thumb. I didn't ever feel like I fit in school. But in seventh grade, my music teacher, Mrs. Najunas, she was getting cut. The arts were getting cut left and right. There was a proposition on the ballot, and I went and started speaking at every school committee meeting, every town council meeting I could, to speak up about her and how the arts had changed my life. I was 11 or something and changed my life. Uh, but it was so vital to me. It was so important to me that I spoke up, and I realized that I had a voice, and that my voice could somehow make a difference. Those two things are really vital. And her. Honestly, her position was still cut, and I was pretty devastated by it. And but I did learn in that moment that advocacy for what you care about is really important. And then these what you actually asked about, the structures that are in place, the supports that are in place that aren't in place for everybody, as I've learned. They are. It's an ever-changing landscape right now, and now more than ever, our schools are vital. Especially where I'm at, we're kind of at the center of a lot of the immigration enforcement, and we're at the center of government shutdowns. We're right next to DC, so most people I know are either working for the federal government or working for companies that serve the federal government in some way.
Wow.
Whether it be restaurants who cater events, or just restaurants who depend on people being in a building that's down the block, right? So with all that, the schools are now serving more purposes than just educating our kids. They're places where there's food distribution. They're places where communities can gather and support one another, that are unlike any other institutions around. So I think knowing how vital they are right now is tantamount to what we need to be doing.
Yeah, really potential for them to be community hubs or not, depending on how it's handled, right? So You helped organize Roots Camp, which I mentioned in the intro, which for folks who are unfamiliar, this became one of the largest gatherings for many years for grassroots organizers. And curious what that context taught you about leadership or what you took away from that.
That's a super great question. Before then, let me jump back a little bit. When I lived in New York, before I lived in DC, I was walking down the sidewalk and I just started getting involved politically. I got involved around Prop 8 in California, the marriage equality ballot question there. And I'd started meeting a lot of the people in this space in New York. And I was walking down the street and I bumped into Judith Light, who is a famous actor. She is a famous actor.
Yeah.
She was on Who's the Boss, which a lot of people know
All
her
my
from.
80s people, yes.
Right? But she was a big advocate, big activist, especially specifically in the LGBTQ space. And I got to talking with her, and she said, Jamie, the thing that most people don't think the thing that most people don't know, but they should, is that no one needs permission to lead. It's all about you stepping up and taking a stand and doing what you need to do to make the change that you need to see. And so with that, I moved to DC shortly thereafter, and it was this, one man show. I was like, well, I got to do this thing. And Roots Camp really knocked me on my ass in a way, because I realized, okay, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
This is a huge undertaking, 2,500 to 3,500 people at these conferences. That when I started, it was, I want to say 1,000 people at the first one that I was there for.
Yeah.
And then we grew it, but we grew it
significantly.
because I was able to reach out to friends and people who worked with this organization, people who'd gotten jobs because of the work this organization did, and realizing how tight and strong the progressive community was. So that the leadership piece there was that it takes a village, and B, you have to trust people to do the things that you empower them with, right? And if you actually give them those responsibilities, they're going to run with it. It's a matter of you trusting the process and understanding that, you surround yourself with great people who are supportive, who are going to do the work, then you're going to end up coming up with something great.
Awesome. So you are now deeply involved with your local public schools, right? You are a parent, you're a PTA leader. What drew you, after being involved in these, sort of big national efforts, to education advocacy at the local level?
So I've been excited about education since I was a kid. Getting involved when I first had that music teacher getting cut. So I've always seen arts and education as so vital. And now that I'm a parent, just seeing the day-to-day operations of what works, what doesn't work, and seeing how big an effect that has on our kids. And it became really personal. I'm a gay dad, and there's this thing that a lot of gay parents do, and we tend to try to overperform, and it's from a place of feeling like you may be the only gay parent that's known in your community. Right. And so somehow internally, no one's putting this on me, but I put it on myself. You feel like if I screw this up, it's going to reflect poorly on every gay parent.
Right.
And so because that's what first got me into actually the big advocacy work at our school, and seeing how it was affecting my kid on a daily basis. But then with the PTA, I knew I wanted to be involved in the PTA from the moment my kids started kindergarten in the public school. But it was really after I got started that I realized just how important it was, how much our PTA specifically supports our school. We have incredible PTAs at a lot of the surrounding schools in our district, and ours is really kind of central to so many of the others, because we run a big zombie run, a huge fundraiser that every area school can participate in and raise funds for for their local schools. And so that knowing that we're kind of central there and that we can lead in that way, and there's this huge community event that happens that everyone's excited about. It's inspiring. It's inspiring to see a community come together and focus on doing good for our schools. And so the advocacy part has really grown over the past couple of years. We're in a school that was over 100 years old, was falling apart literally in horrific ways, and it was on the schedule to be rebuilt. So the start of my advocacy here really was making sure that stayed on track. Funding was threatened dozens of times, and we kept having to speak up to make sure it happened. And now it's just I can see the site from my window here.
Wow.
And so it's now been knocked down. We're at an interim school for this year and next year while that gets built. And that's been a whole process in and of itself. We've had a whole community that we went from being just a walking school to a bus school to the interim space, and that's been a huge lift. The county has had some challenges with busing. Busing's been transportation overall has been a bit of a nightmare for most parents, and so I'm a person who likes to think way ahead. So I was talking to the administration a year before we had to move to the interim space and talking to them about the challenges with making sure that we have buy-in from the community, because most schools you're just used to getting a kindergarten on the bus. This time we're getting a whole school on the bus, so it was really a cultural shift. So I hope to bring a lot of that to the next step of what I'm doing, that thinking ahead and make solutions before they become problems.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, because I think so many of us become aware of the functioning, like of what even the functions are of local government, school board, city council, or, board of selectmen, whatever it may be. And then all the different boards and commissions above and beyond that exist at the local and county level that really influence so much of what the quality of our day-to-day lives are like. But I think for many of us, we don't actually really know or think about what they do in the day-to-day or how to engage with them until it's actually too late or almost too late, until something is already in process that starts to hit up against our life and we go, oh, we don't like that. Got to do something about that.
Right.
And so I love that you're mentioning taking the long view and foresight and thinking down the pike about, how can we be proactive? And I think it might be helpful if you could share in a little bit more depth, just kind of a very brief overview of what actually does a school board member do day to day, and why is this role so important to everybody's life, whether or not we have kids in the schools?
That's a great question. We have so firstly, to address the first part of what you said, how the local governments affect our day-to-day life it's huge. It's so much bigger than whoever's in the White House.
Right.
The things that are happening in DC, you're not gonna feel sometimes for weeks, months, or years. What's happening in your town, in your city, in your school, that's something that's something that is going to affect you, as you said, in your day-to-day life. And we're all really busy, right?
Right.
Most of us have jobs. Most of us or a lot of us have kids and families that we have to think about. So thinking about a whole other department where you have to be concerned about what's going on can be a challenge. But it doesn't have to be as big a lift. You don't have to know every single thing that's going on with your city council or town council. Read the paper. Instead of listening to the radio for a half an hour, listen to a recording of the last town council meeting. Find out what's going on. Read the minutes if you have a second. it at least gets you involved in what's going on and what are the decisions being made that might affect you and what's happening in your day-to-day life. As far as the school board goes, it depends on what board you're in. Every school board operates a little differently. Our school board is one of the largest in the country.
Wow.
Our school district is one of the largest in the country, in the top 20, I think. And Montgomery County, which is the county next to us, is just a little bit larger than ours. And we're two of the largest school districts in the whole country. We serve over 200 schools in our district. The school board oversees a lot of what's happening in the schools. They work as a partner with the administration. So in our case, it's the superintendent of schools. It used to be the CEO of schools, and that shifted recently. But we oversee curriculum, we oversee policy, we oversee the building of new schools, and most importantly, the budget. Where does the money come from, and how is it spent? We also advocate with state lawmakers to make sure that the money that's been promised us is coming to us. Frequently, this is happening all over the country.
Yeah.
There are casinos that are built, and those casinos almost always are promised to bring new funds to education. And very frequently that money is not there. It doesn't follow through. Or what's worse is the money from those casinos actually ends up going to districts and parts of the state that aren't affected by the casino being built there. So when there's a casino built, frequently there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of areas around the casino that have been pushed out because of the building of the new casino. And when that happens, you have people who are displaced. You have people who are sometimes living in poverty or at least very low income families. So why is the money from those casinos then going to the counties that are already pretty well off? So a big piece of the school board in my case is equity and making sure that the money is being distributed evenly. And basically the quality of your education shouldn't depend on your zip code. So that's a big piece of why I'm running and why I feel like I can make a difference. And because I've been a fighter for a really long time, and I have no problem with calling a spade and saying, hey, this is not okay. As an advocate, that's one of the things the school board would do.
Fantastic. And so what was the moment that you decided running for office was the right next step for you to make the difference that you want to make in the community around you? And what are the sort of top of mind things that you are really hoping you can accomplish if you move into the position?
Thank you. Overall, I think my story, how I got here, Pamela Boozer-Strother, who is our current school board member, she's been there for 8 years and she's been fantastic. She's done really great work. She's the reason we have a new school being built. We had a new middle school built just before that, just on the other side of our block. So I've been in construction hell in the middle of all of it, but it's worth it at the end of the day. Yeah. I found out last summer that she wasn't going to be running again. And so that bug was in my ear a little bit. At the same time, I never imagined myself as someone who would run for office. I'm a person who encourages other people to run for office. Yep. That's my place. I know you understand that.
I understand. Yeah.
And so I knew another parent who was in a neighboring town who was thinking about running. I learned that he was not going to run. And I also spoke to our state senator, Alonzo Washington, who's also been great help in getting started and for the county. He's been wonderful. For our district, he's been wonderful. And I talked to him, and it became clear that what we need is a parent in this space. School boards, and our school board in particular, has been seen as a kind of a breeding ground for people who want to run for higher office. So this is, you try this out, then you run for something else. And so being someone who didn't even see myself running for any office, and knowing my passion for the schools and my experience already in the schools as a parent, I knew that this was something I needed to do. There was no one else stepping up in this space who was a parent, and who had the involvement that I did already. So I did feel like it was something that I was called to do. But that's why I'm here. It's why I'm doing it. And I'm hoping you did ask something else. What was it?
I did. I was just wondering what, sort of, if you are elected to the position, what are the sort of top of mind things that you are hoping to accomplish?
Absolutely. So basically, the funding piece is huge. We have a program in Maryland called Blueprint for Maryland's Future, which basically just assures the funding over and is supposed to increase the stability of the schools over the course of the next several years, and that has basically been in threat of being cut since day one. So part of that is just making sure the funding remains. And get stronger as we increase what's happening now is we're increasing huge budget cuts. Our county is cutting $1.5 million over the course of the next year, and seeing where those cuts are going right now is pretty heartbreaking. So right now, the plan is that we're going to cut language immersion programs. We're going to cut a lot of the special education programs we have, and knowing that right now in the time we're living in, especially in an extraordinarily heavy Latino district, my focus is to actually increase the language immersion programs, increase I want every kid in our city and our county to know Spanish. I think in thinking about how we live our lives every day, we can ban all the books we want. We can cut language immersion programs, but none of that is going to stop our world from being what it is. What it's going to do, though, is limit how our children can interact with it. So that's been a big focus. The other big focus for me has been parent engagement. There has been a culture over the past several years where the schools have felt, at the very least, like there were places where parents weren't supposed to be involved.
Oh, dear.
Or kind of separated out, like parents sometimes get in the way of how the schools are operating. But every study that we've seen says very clearly that schools do better with greater parent engagement. So we have, I want to see a PTA or PTO or a similar type organization at every school. We have a number of schools that don't have any kind of parent organization. And that I recently went to one of our schools in our district, and I'd reached out to the parent engagement associate and said, "Hey, I'd love to meet some parents." And she said, "Sure, come tomorrow morning at 8." And I was like, "Okay, great. I'll stop by." And I showed up, and I'm in a room I'm at the front of this cafeteria, and there's 20 parents sitting there. I was the only one in the room who didn't speak Spanish. And it all started out, everyone was pretty timid. Everyone was holding back. It was a volunteer orientation. These were all parents who were excited and willing to volunteer for their school, which is a huge number of people to show up to this sort of thing. And so the parent engagement assistant associate said, "Can you tell them how to make a PTA?" And I was like, okay, well, the PTA I'm on was there already when I got there. So I've just been, trying to make it work. And I realized quickly that as this group started to come a little closer together and discuss some of the challenges they were facing and some of the things they loved about their school, that there's community already here. The challenge is finding a way for them to communicate, finding a way for them to come together as a community. So I was like, let's start a WhatsApp group, so
Nice.
you can, it doesn't have to be a place where you're just there to complain about the school, but it can be a place where you can find support for the things that you need. And this is a school that also has a lot of food distribution, a lot of very low income families. And so where it's a Title I school, ours is as well. And so seeing that and seeing people realize that together they can find power in just learning to communicate with each other and finding ways to approach problems together. So that's another big part of my focus. My platform is greater parent engagement.
So if people are inspired by what they're hearing from you, or maybe they're just curious and they want to learn more, how do they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, which is McG for District 3. It's MCGFOR District district3.com. And that's my campaign website. You can message me there at jamie@mcg for district3.com. I'm always happy to answer questions. And you can also feel free to make a donation there. These campaigns cost a lot of money, so any help you can offer would be great. I'd also implore everybody, to take a look at their local newspapers, take a look at their town councils, their school committees, their school boards, and find out what you can do, and how just figure out how you can learn more about what's going on, so you know what's going on in your day to day. And thirdly, I ask you to find your local school and find out how you can help. Because right now, especially in a lot of places, schools are acting, as we were talking about, schools are acting much more than just a place for kids to learn. They're family hubs. They're cooling centers when there's heat. They're just great places for community, and we're learning more and more great places for community to be fostered and built.
Awesome. So folks, if you are watching this on YouTube, we will have the links down in the description to connect with Jamie and his campaign. We also, to the point of getting involved locally, will link some of the shorts and resources that we have to help support you in knowing how to be effective when you're trying to get in touch with your local government and get involved, to make it easy, as well as to join our Write the Future campaign, where you can get together with local folks to imagine the hopeful future and take action steps towards it. So if you have enjoyed what you've heard today, if you were inspired by it, we really invite you to like, to share, to subscribe. Certainly a lot of great info from Jamie for anyone in the country who wants to see stronger schools, stronger community, or make any kind of difference in the world. And you can start making that difference by clicking one of those like, share, subscribe buttons, because that helps more people get access to this information. So Jamie, our time has actually flown by. We're going to have you back, I think. But
After I win.
One rapid fire question for you is, if you can, just one small thing that is giving you hope for the future of our schools.
Our kids.
There we go.
They are everything. My kid is incredible. Our kids overall are so resilient. And the reason I'm doing this work is because every moment one of our kids in our schools spends a day being sad or upset that his parents might not be there when he gets back, is a moment of their childhood that's gone, and that doesn't come back. So as a leader, if I can give one of those childhood moments back to those kids and let them live their lives as kids and just be children, that's a win.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jamie. Thanks for everybody listening and watching. And the links, again, to connect with Jamie and to get more support for engaging locally will be both in the YouTube description and across all of our socials, all of our YOUnify socials. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, Jamie. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
You too.
Yeah. And so how old is your son?